7 o'clock, so I'm gonna go ahead and call to order this February 10, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Town of White Lake. And I would ask you, first of all, to bow your heads for the invocation. Lord, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to gather here this evening to discuss the business of our town. Lord, we ask that you guide us and direct us as we attempt to do your will and to do those things that are in the best interest of the citizens of this town. These things we ask in Christ's name. Amen. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. All of you are welcome to join in that are in the audience if you would care to, and I'd ask Commissioner Barefoot if you would to lead us in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda items, sir. The only change that there is in the presented agenda is we have no matters to discuss in the closed session. So that will be removed from the agenda, and I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Sean, if you will take item 2A on the Town of White Lake occupancy tax.
Yes, sir. For our presentation tonight, we have Mr. Vince Chelina and Chris Cavanaugh, who are both what I would consider to be experts in the field that have agreed to present to our Board of Commissioners tonight, as well as take questions from our Board of Commissioners tonight. I believe they have a brief presentation prepared for you tonight, and then, as mentioned, they're ready and willing to receive questions that you may have from the council. Mr. Cavanaugh, can you hear us okay?
I can indeed. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. Would like to just, what we're going to talk about today is how occupancy tax structure works in North Carolina. And what we're going to discuss tonight is basically some of the ABCs, if you will, of occupancy tax structure, how in most places in North Carolina it is structured, how it comes about, and so forth. And what I'd like to do is be able to answer any basic questions. I'm not here to advocate for a lodging tax. I'm not here to do anything that is either pro or con in favor of occupancy tax. I've done a lot of work as a consultant across the state in the last 21 years with regards to occupancy tax structure and so forth in the state. And I have had the chance to work in a lot of different communities. And the first thing I'll note is that in North Carolina, the most important thing that you can, that's important to you is the fact that there is, each community is different. Every community in the state has its own structure with regards to occupancy tax legislation. And so any type of legislation that would be applied here in White Lake would be specific to White Lake. You would have your own occupancy tax that would be applicable only to White Lake and your legislation. So I'm going to try to do a very brief presentation here, and let me see if I can share my screen, and you'll need to let me know if there's any. Let's see, there's Vince. Vince coming on now. I'm in Asheville, by the way. Vince is in the Charlotte area. And if you will, Sean, if it's possible to allow me to share my screen, I'll do a very brief presentation. Vince, we're just getting started. Appreciate you joining. Vince is the Executive Director of the North Carolina Travel Industry Association. I serve currently as the President of the Board of the Association, and I've also been engaged as a consultant for quite some time now, 21 years in a variety of different tourism and hospitality projects across the state.
And I am here, Chris, and I'm sorry my video is not connecting right now for some reason, but I read you loud and clear and hear.
Well, Vince is a very sharp-looking guy, so just take it from me that's the case. So, all right, can you see my slides?
Yes.
And the first slide you should be seeing, I've had a little problem with this lately. Can you see a slide that says the ABCs of TDAs?
No, North Carolina Lodging Occupancy Tax.
Let me come out of this, then we'll just do it this way. So just to go over briefly, TDA.
There, we have it now.
Okay. TDA is the vehicle that's created by the state of North Carolina to oversee the collection and investment of occupancy taxes in most communities in North Carolina. It's considered to be a quasi-governmental body, and it usually consists of a board of representatives from the local visitor economy, plus occasionally ex officio members, typically a finance officer from the county, sometimes also an elected official from the municipality or region or county being represented. As I mentioned, they can only be created by a specific act of the legislature that grants approval to a local body, either a county commission, if it's a countywide tax, or a city or town council, to appoint the members and to formally authorize an occupancy tax. In this case, White Lake, for instance, if you were to enact an occupancy tax after it had been passed in Raleigh, you would authorize a resolution that would allow you to levy a tax and then appoint members to the TDA. As I mentioned before, the legislation is always specific to that particular community. In North Carolina, the first occupancy tax legislation was passed in 1983. There are now a total of 90 counties enabled to collect a tax. There are also 110 cities and towns enabled to collect occupancy taxes, and that's sometimes in addition to a countywide tax. Tax rates can range from 1% to 6%. The total rate charged to the guest cannot exceed 6%, with the exception of Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, which has an 8% tax, with the additional 2% tax used to fund the NASCAR Hall of Fame and to fund its construction and operation. In most places now, the consumer, the guest, generally does pay 6%. In terms of who pays the tax, guests of all commercial lodging that stay less than 90 nights will pay an occupancy tax where authorized. If you stay longer than 90 nights, you are entitled to a refund of any tax paid by the individual for the previous 90 nights. It becomes a long-term stay at that point. Also, properties that rent for less than 15 days a year and that do not use Airbnb or VRBO are exempt. Now, for rentals that are made via Airbnb and VRBO, that tax is paid directly by those platforms by agreement with the North Carolina Department of Revenue. Those entities submit their tax directly to the collecting jurisdiction, and they're collecting it on behalf of the owners and managers of those properties. I always remind people that occupancy tax is always in addition to sales tax. Most people know that, but some do not. And then lastly, tent campgrounds and RV parks are generally excluded from the tax. The law is a bit of a gray area as to what consists of a tent campground. After all, we have things ranging from glamping, you see an example of that down here in the right-hand corner, to cabins. And usually if there's a cabin at a tent campground or an RV park, it's a fixed structure. It's considered that you have to pay tax on that structure. One of the other key things about occupancy taxes in the state of North Carolina is that in 1997, the legislature, state legislature, House of Representatives adopted guidelines that basically govern how the tax is written in most places now in the state for future legislation. And it basically spells out two things. One, that at least 2/3 of revenue has to be invested in the promotion of tourism. The state's even given us a definition of what promotion of tourism is. But basically, it's the marketing and sales of a particular destination. It also includes administrative costs associated with that work. And then up to 1/3 of tax revenue can be invested in what are called tourism-related expenditures. And that's a fairly broad term to describe things that range from event sponsorships and execution to doing capital projects. And we've seen in a number of communities that tourism-related expenditures have been, that term has been used to invest in a wide variety of attractive projects that benefit both the visitor as well as the resident of the community. And it's been used by communities to support a variety of projects that include capital assets such as stadiums, arenas, convention centers, even wayfinding signage, visitor centers, museums, parks and greenways, sports fields, as well as non-capital expenditures such as events. And that's basically putting on events. It could be everything from the marketing of those events to actually doing the execution, renting stages, porta potties, bringing in bands and entertainment. That's generally allowable under the term tourism-related expenditures, which up to 1/3 of revenue can be invested in. If you're on the, by the way, I should mention too, if you're on the coast, there's a good chance too that your legislation allows you to invest some of these tax dollars in beach renourishment, which is obviously very important to beach communities. So if you're in a place like Brunswick or out in Wrightsville Beach, they generally invest some of their money that they receive from lodging tax in beach nourishment. So I'm going to stop there. Like I said, a very brief presentation on kind of the structure of occupancy taxes in the state of North Carolina. The way it traditionally works is that a group of citizens or a governmental body will approach your local legislative delegation to seek their support in favor of an occupancy tax for that jurisdiction. That senator or state representative will then file a bill in Raleigh seeking permission for you as a governmental body to levy that tax and appoint members to the TDA board. Those bills are generally grouped together, and now traditionally in the last few years, we've seen those bills are traditionally grouped together so that all occupancy taxes are grouped together in an omnibus bill that usually is passed on the last day of that the legislature is in session. So you might be in the same bill as another community seeking to either make changes to their legislation or seeking to levy a tax for the same time for the very first time. So that's just a brief presentation on how this works. Vince, I don't know if you have anything you want to add from a 10,000-foot perspective, but happy to also take questions if you don't have anything to add.
If I'm Goldston Womble, mayor here. Appreciate y'all appearing with us, and I'll open it up in just a moment. Any questions from the board? If you have any questions that you would like to address to Mr. Kavanaugh or Mr. Chalina, if you will let me know, I will acknowledge you, and so we can do this in an orderly fashion. You are welcome to proceed with asking questions if you have any you wish to address them. You basically answered the questions that I had, and I've looked into this some, and what you're telling me is basically what I've gleaned from taking a look at this, and I appreciate very much your presenting that to the board. Are there any board members who have any questions at this time that they wish to direct to Mr. Kavanaugh?
Mayor Womble?
Yes, sir.
If I may, I'd like to ask if the town of White Lake were to implement this tax on our own, and then all of a sudden our county decides to implement this tax, how does that work?
Good question. Very good question. And I can explain it. Basically, two things would potentially happen. Either the county would levy a tax that would only apply to the remainder of the county or to unincorporated areas of the county if another municipality within the county decided to levy a tax. Or you and the county would say, we want to create a single countywide entity that would levy the tax. And at that point, you would go back to Raleigh with your local legislative delegation and ask them to rewrite the legislation. Now, it also depends somewhat upon the rate of taxation that you select. It's possible, for instance, that if you decide our rate of taxation is only going to be 3%, the county could also levy a 3% tax that would be applicable on top of the 3%. As long as the total for the guest doesn't go above 6%, there's a couple of different ways you could pursue that. We've seen in a couple of places around the state where there are multiple entities levying taxes. And I've been working with the folks up in Beaufort County, which is up in the city of Washington. They, for instance, have a tax only for the city of Washington, but their county commissioners just decided they want to ask their legislatures to pursue a tax for the rest of the county in Beaufort County. And so that would apply to other municipalities and unincorporated parts of the county. Now, they have been talking also, though, with the city of Washington, and they may actually combine and create a single countywide tourism development authority. In other places, you have a county TDA as well as a local municipal TDA, and they either decide to do their own promotion or they decide to pool their resources and create one entity, but you create your own board. You have your own board still that would invest up to 1/3. So you could potentially invest in assets, capital assets, and events that are only in White Lake. So there's a number of different ways you could go about it. But potentially, if you went up to 6%, your legislation would supersede anything that the county does unless you decide to go to Raleigh and rewrite that legislation.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any information? Okay, so again, we thank you for making the presentation to us. Was there anything else that y'all needed or wanted to address to us?
We are both Vince and I are happy to serve as additional resource. Do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us or both, and we're happy to answer any additional questions or direct you to appropriate resources.
Okay, I thank you very much for being so succinct and informative and joining with us tonight by Zoom. And we again appreciate the information, and if we need some assistance, I can't imagine anybody else that we would want to go to other than y'all. You seem to be knowledgeable about this. So thank you very much again for presenting this to us.
Thanks for the opportunity to present to you. Have a good evening.
Okay, that is the presentation that we have, and at this point, there's no action to be taken in regard to the presentation, but this does appear later on in the agenda. Item A under our administrative matters is the White Lake Lake Water Management Project update. You will note that there is a report in there from Diane Larson, and I encourage you to read through this to see the analysis that she's done, talking about things that we observe down here, that there's variability from month to month in the levels of nutrient in our shallow lake, with a general tendency for levels to be higher in summer and lower in winter. And as we know, we have higher phosphorus levels that are seen when there's the most phytoplankton on the lake. which is generally in the warmer weather during the summertime. That's the way, not always, but the way it usually works. And we also see higher phosphorus levels in the plumes that are created by, for example, wakeboard boats, because that raises the sediment from the bottom of the lake and raises it up into the water column. And so naturally, we're going to see higher phosphorus levels. Basically, according to the measurements that we have done for a number of years, the phosphorus levels in the lake have not increased compared to historical levels, basically, that we had 50 years ago, except for times when there have been blooms, algal blooms. If you will recall, high phosphorus was the target for the alum treatment we did in 2018. And at that time, the levels had gotten about 3 times higher than normal during the time we had the filamentous cyanobacterial bloom, and a cyanobacteria was identified that was capable of producing toxins, and the state agreed to allow us to do an alum treatment. And I would say, as a side note, we were fortunate that we had the measurements we had done at that time, because that was greatly useful in persuading the state to allow us to proceed with what we did. And on the flip side of that coin, the nitrogen levels have increased compared to historical levels, and they have increased substantially. And usually, as we know, they're usually lower in winter. There was a sharp peak in nitrogen level in late summer last year, and dissolved organic carbon levels were high for much of the year. You've got contained with this the actual figures in regard to the White Lake nutrient levels, and there's also an accompanying graph, and there's also the total phosphorus measurements and an accompanying graph for that. And it's noted in a report that ammonia levels generally were below detection in each sampling month, which I would interpret as a good thing, because ammonia is a nutrient. And so I would certainly take that as a plus. And then you see she has done a graph with measurements on dissolved organic carbon. And so we continue to get these reports. We continue to work with the state, and we continue to, as noted in her report, more results from the White Lake 2025 annual report, with this month's focus on nutrients. And that is what we're trying to concentrate on as a town at this time, to see what we are able to do as far as reducing nutrient levels in the lake, because that's the food that algae feeds off of. So we will continue trying to see what we can do in that regard. So that is her report. There's no action to be taken on that at this particular time. Next matter is the White Lake Water AI project update. Sean, if you would, please.
Yes, sir. The update for this month is that the project is 86% completed. In fact, today, staff and I participated in a capital improvement plan workshop as a part of this project. During that workshop, we discussed things like the asset inventory table of the water system at the lake, the risk matrix of our water system, the likelihood of our failure and the criteria that determine that, as well as an overall risk analysis of our water system. All this leads to an asset management plan. That's a document the board can use as a vehicle in budgetary conversations to prepare budgets and invest in the water system based on revenues collected. It also plays a big part in pursuing grants and obtaining funding to continue to work on the water system. The next steps in this project are to conduct a life cycling modeling workshop to learn a little bit more about the flow of our water system and the opportunities that exist in that category. And then you will start to see a draft asset management plan, of which a council presentation date will be established. The asset management plan will be finalized after receiving input from staff, and a presentation will be made to council as part of the adoption process. Mayor, if there's no questions, that concludes the report for this month.
Any questions for Sean? All right, the next matter is Sean, if you will take item B, appointment of human resource officer.
Yes, sir. Last month, the board did appoint me as the interim human resource officer. I am, as staff, preparing the agenda item you see before you to ask for the appointment of Tina Merritt Smith, our town clerk, to be the full-time human resource officer.
So moved. So moved.
Motion second, any discussion?
Yeah, I have some. Tina, I don't know what your education qualifications are with HR. It's very important to me, HR. I'm in that business. Jackson Lewis is the largest national law firm that helps me with my updates. So I advise you to lean on the COG in the municipality, in North Carolina League of Municipalities, and know the rules and the laws. Document, document, document. Our current personnel policy is the mayor, department heads, or commissioners who work with HR. This new proposal takes the department head and our board, elected board, out of these decisions. So I just want you to be aware of the responsibilities that you'll be undertaking. And today's market is sue, so we don't need no EOC claims. That's all I got to say.
Well, one thing I would say in regard to that, and of course, I've worked with Tina since she came in as clerk, and I do want to assure you, to give you some comfort level, that Tina is very good about consulting with me, consulting with our town administrator, and I have not seen her taking any actions without doing her thorough research, and I am confident that she will continue to do so. Tina and I have discussed this position as well as the clerk's position, and she'll be keeping the board informed, and she'll be working with staff and our other resources to make sure she's leading us correctly. So I'm confident that will occur.
And I'm too confident, but just the importance of this role, I just wanted to stress that.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. As I stated earlier, at this point in the agenda, we have an item on the occupancy tax that we wanted you to consider the presentation that was delivered earlier this evening. And what we are looking for, and staff is looking for, is we need a direction, a motion at this time on advising staff whether or not to proceed with notifying business owners to gather input for next month's council meeting, because we need to see how we're going with this. If we go forward with looking at an occupancy tax, then I think it's only appropriate that we notify and bring in our business owners, the ones that would be paying the tax. And if we're not going to proceed with it, then obviously we will not need to do that. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to advise whether or not to proceed with the matter of pursuing an occupancy tax.
Mayor, with all the things the town's got going on at this time, I would like to make a motion to advise staff not to move forward with this process.
All right, there's been a motion that we not move forward with this process at this time. Is there a second? Second to the motion. Any discussion?
My only concern is if the county moves forward with it, then revenue that we could use for marketing and the trail and other water festival things that we want to do here at White Lake we would not be able to guarantee those funds to go to our interest.
And that is a concern. I took it from the presentation that was made and the things I've looked into on it, that of course it has to pass through the legislature, and I haven't found any instance where the legislature is going to do anything for one as opposed to the other, that they're either gonna, if everybody's in agreement on what they want done, that's what they'll do. And if everybody is not in agreement on what they want done, they're not going to go forward with it. And that's been my experience with most things with the legislature. So, while I understand its concern, I would certainly hope that's not likely to happen. And I think some of the statements that were made by Mr. Kavanaugh earlier would back up that conclusion. So any further discussion?
Terry, I appreciate the work, and the time, and the energy, you and what you're doing. I know your heart's in the right direction, but as a business owner and some other business folks out here, that's an undue burden that it's hard for me to take on right now. Last year was not a banner year, and we're hoping and praying we'll have a good year this year. So I'm not in a position to shoot myself in the foot for an additional tax, but don't
Well,
take it
just
personally.
know, Timbo, the county could put it and then it would shoot you in the foot. You
I
wouldn't have control of it.
understand, but
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Nah.
Aye. All opposed, like sign.
No.
Okay. So it's 5 in favor, 1 against, and so we will not proceed at this time with the of pursuance of an occupancy tax. Okay, item D, appointment of budget officer and budget committee. In years past, I've served as budget officer with Sean going to Whiteville. That's probably going to be more work this year, and me reverting back to what I have normally done in the past. I don't mind doing that. I'm glad to take that on. So if you, what we've done in the past is I've served as the budget officer, and the entire Board of Commissioners has served as the fiscal year budget committee. And if that is what you want to do going forward, I would entertain a motion to that effect.
so moved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
You do a good job, Goldston.
Well, I appreciate it. It's kind of a labor of love, I suppose. One way to characterize it. So there's been a motion. Was there a second?
Yes.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Item E is the fiscal year budget calendar and activities. And of course, this is legislated by statute, and we have to have certain deadlines that we have to meet in the presentation of the budget, and we have to adopt that no later than July 1st of this of the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026. And so at this time, with having appointed the budget officer and budget committee, I would entertain a motion to approve the fiscal year 26-27 budget calendar and activities as presented in your agenda.
So moved.
Motion second. Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Sean, if you would please, our Office of State Fire Marshal grant application.
Yes, sir. Fire Chief Dale Brennan has prepared a grant application to the Office of the State Fire Marshal as part of their yearly grant procedure, grant cycle, in hopes of securing funds in the amount of $51,000. This is a 50-50 grant, meaning that the town would supply $25,500 and the Office of the State Fire Marshal would supply $25,500. This grant will be used to purchase 6 sets of turnout gear, 6 pairs of turnout boots, 8 of the Viking portables, and 8 radio chargers. Chief Brennan is here with us tonight, and on behalf of myself, Chief, I want to say I appreciate your hard work in the amount of time you take in trying to find grants for your department. As evident by this, I also want to let the board know that these funds have been pre-budgeted. The matching funds have. So if the board approves the grant application, the funds are available to match the grant.
Dale, it seems like we get these about every other year, doesn't it? And last year we didn't get them. The year before we did. Hopefully we're on our cycle that we get them this year, but we've got the 25.5 in the budget, and I know how expensive all the turnout gear is, and you know, it's a little bit of a bad side, good side sort of thing, but the blessing is that Dale has been able to recruit and keep a lot of volunteers. What's the total number of volunteers now, Dale? And how many of those are qualified as first responders? About 25 of the 37. I don't know how Dale does it sometimes. We really do, for the size of our town and all, having 37 volunteer firemen is an incredibly important thing. And a lot of those qualified as first responders. And Dale, we thank you for that. Dale submits this every year. As I said, it's a good side, bad side. The good side is we've got all these volunteers. The tough side is you can't send them out there without their boots and turnout gear. So we have to supply that, which we well should. And so Dale, I hope we're successful. I think you always do a good job in presenting the grant application. And this should be our year that we get that grant. So hopefully that'll be the case. So at this time, I would like to entertain a motion that we approve the request to participate in the 2026 OSFM grant cycle as presented. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Sean, item G, if you would, please.
Mayor, item G is a request from a citizen, Cathy Holmes, at 109 Kimberly Lane, to appear before the board tonight. She is requesting the board to consider a July 2025 utility bill in the sum of $394 that she received. She's requesting the board to reduce that to a minimum bill of $41.42. Ms. Holmes, I believe, is here tonight to address the board and has prepared a presentation contained within your agenda packet with some supplemental information regarding her case.
Okay, if you
Ms. Holmes,
would
if you want.
briefly, we do have the information in the agenda. If you will briefly give your presentation, we'll be glad to take that into account and take action in regard to it.
I'm going to read what I've written down. So, good evening. I'm Cathy Holmes. I'm here tonight to come before you regarding a water bill that we received July 2025 for $394.19 at our camper at White Lake Campground. Previously, our bill was the flat rate of $41.42, and all of a sudden that month it went to $394.19. It read on the bill that we had used over 22,000 gallons of water in 1 month, and I know that's not true. So we obtained a plumber on August the 6th, 2025, that came out and could not find any leaks with the pipes or the water heater. We also had Kevin Taylor, which is the Public Works Director, and Lee, a technician, check the meter on August the 29th, and they said that there needed to be a new meter put in, and they would have to come back and check the meter as there was moisture, and they wouldn't have to come back and read it when it dried out. So they could read it. We could not read the meter. There was moisture in it so bad that nobody could read the meter. So I don't know how the technicians were reading it. So I'm asking that the $394.19 charge be waived, and we have done everything that we can do to prove that there are no leaks in our camp.
Okay.
And you'll see, that I've written down exactly what Mr. Taylor and Lee said about when they came to the, camper and looked at it. And, you'll see that we have kept or here's the leak request that the plumber did. And he said, no leaks, nothing wrong with the hot water heater. That cost us $216 to have that done. And then you'll see that we have taken a reading of everything since that time to present. And it's just, I don't understand how we could get charged for 22,000 gallons of water when it's not being used. So that's my request.
Okay.
Just to take $394.19 off where we don't have at all.
You mean other than a minimum bill?
So
You mean other than a minimum bill?
we pay, when we received the $394.19 bill, we came to the town hall and we paid $42.54. We paid.
So
the
you have
41
paid the
Yes,
minimum
sir.
bill, you're just asking for the amount over that. Okay.
Yeah, we're asking for $394.19 be waived because I don't think we should have to pay it because there's no way we could use 22,000 gallons of water.
Okay.
That's my
All right,
request.
thank you very much. Before we start anything, Kevin, I take it y'all did check the meter and there's, there was no problem with the meter, is that correct?
Just follow bit. Don't know. And don't check it. We don't have no idea.
Okay. So you couldn't find that it was was it functioning properly so far as you know?
Just at the time, you couldn't visibly read it, so you had to come back to visibly read it later. But no mechanical issues or anything like that were found.
About 2, 3 on, go early in the morning, go out and out. We'll get back look. Like, over the board, we're on. Okay,
Before I open this up for a motion or any action or discussion on it, I do think it would be appropriate for me to remind you that we have an adopted town policy in regard to these situations. Generally, what we do is when someone reports that a billing is does not seem to be appropriate, we do ask that they check for any leaks. In this case, no leaks were found, and we don't. Apparently, we checked the meter, and there's no problem with that, and that's what we normally do. Our general policy is to not remit any portion of the bill unless there is proof that there has been a leak. And if we have proof that there is a leak, we release the wastewater portion by our adopted policy. And we do that because that water is not having to be treated. If there's a leak, then it goes outside the system. It doesn't come through our wastewater treatment plant, and the town does not have the burden of treating that water. In this case, again, there's no leak found. There's no problem with the meter. And the thing I would ask you to keep in mind is you need to be aware of our policy, and you need to know that if you take the step of releasing all of someone's bill because it is out of line with what it has been in the past, then you need to be prepared for other people to come in with that same thing. We had a good number of years ago, and I'm not saying it was what happened here. I don't know what happened here, but we had a situation come up where somebody had a bill that jumped way up, couldn't figure it out, couldn't see what was going on. We finally, with the help of the homeowners, were able to determine they had an outside faucet, and some kids had come over while they were not there and had turned on the faucet and left it running. And they found, as I said, I'm not saying this applies to you. I understand that. I'm not trying to make it apply to you. I'm just saying that there are simply some times when there is an explanation that we may not be able to find the explanation. And I will tell you that in regard to this, while we generally don't release anything unless the person can show that there's a leak, I will, and being candid with you, tell you that often or at times in the past when this has come up, we have agreed with people. It's just something that we've done to try to be good neighbors to release the wastewater portion of the bill, but not the full amount of it. I will tell you that the wastewater portion on this is $197.31. So my recommendation to you would be that we follow our policy, and if you're going to release anything, to release the wastewater amount. Of course, you can do what you want to, but there's going to be other cases coming forward, and you're going to have to deal with those. And this policy has served us well. So that having been said, I will open the floor for a motion and then any discussion after a motion and so.
Make a motion, we release the sewer.
And a motion that we release the wastewater portion
Yeah.
of the charge of $197.31.
Yes.
Is there a second to that
Second.
motion? Any further discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Ms. Holmes, we are releasing, although it's not part of our policy, we're trying to do what we think a good neighbor would do. And we don't know either what the reason was for it, but we will release $197.31, which is the wastewater portion of the charge. And again, thank you for coming and meeting with us tonight.
Thanks.
In item H, on Lance King, Grays Lane, that matter has been resolved administratively. I'm glad to report it was a really different situation with Lance. I'm not going to go into detail on it, but it was not a leak or a 1 month spike like we were talking about before. It was a different thing that was fairly complicated. And again, we were able to resolve that administratively, and glad we were able to do so. And Lance was very nice in working with us on that, which we appreciate. Item number 4 under ordinances and resolutions. Item A is adoption of the Town of White Lake Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. Sean, if you will, please.
Yes, sir. This is a fairly straightforward procedural matter. We are a part of the Cape Fear Region Basin, I believe is the official designation, but that includes Columbus County, that includes Robinson County, and that includes Bladen County. This document is a document that is updated every so often with hazard mitigation strategies, flood loss and prevention strategies, and general information about the towns contained within those regions for.
Sir, please don't interrupt my meeting. You're excused. That's fine. We're here to conduct the business of the town. All right. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Sure.
I couldn't hear what was being said.
Sure. This is a procedural matter as part of a regional participant in this plan. Long story short, the takeaway for the board is this plan is a document that we use in a natural disaster. It kicks in for FEMA reimbursement. It kicks in for North Carolina emergency management reimbursement. And it does give us a seat at the table in those regional conversations, regional grants, regional strategies. to help reduce repetitive loss and implement hazard mitigation strategies. This resolution is just signing on to the plan at a board level so that we can participate in the future, given those conversations in that context. If there are no questions, Mayor, staff would ask the board to adopt Resolution 2026-13 as presented.
I would entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-13 as presented.
So moved.
Motion second.
Second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor indicate by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Item B under ordinances and resolutions is Resolution 2026-14, Town of White Lake Personnel Policy. We had a presentation done on this. Everybody wanted a chance to take a look at this. So we continued it over to this time. We haven't received at this point any request from anyone about additional information or any questions presented to town staff. So at this point, I would entertain a motion that we have from the any motion we have from
Mr. Mayor, I like with Sean, his departure, and sorry to see you leaving, Sean. But the questions I have on that policy and a lot of changes and our new board members, I like to know where we're going as far as the search committee, a lot of information. If we could schedule a workshop and we can go through these, answer our questions, because I still got a lot, and tonight ain't the night for us to sit here and debate it. But if we could schedule a workshop that we could sit down and go through this and the questions I've got, and also the questions about our future plans with the town administrator on how we can, where we're going with that as well.
Well, although it's not related directly to this, I think I know at the March meeting, we're going to be discussing some things dealing with a transition plan as we need to. But the question right now is, what do you want to do in regard to what's on the agenda at this time? I mean, I understand you're saying you want a work session on, but we'd have to set that up and contact everybody and see when that could be set up and if we needed to include anything else with it, as you were mentioning. But, you know, what's your motion in regard to what's on the agenda?
Well, I'd like to make a motion. We have a workshop. I don't know a date and time, whatever we could schedule, if it could, we're running out of February, but,
So the table this until a workshop could be identified.
Okay, so you're gonna make a motion to table? Till we.
I'll make the motion to table it until we can identify the workshop timeframe.
And I think that would be good, actually, because, you know, we're gonna need staff to do that, contact folks and see, you know, when we need to meet. So there's a motion to table. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? All opposed? The motion to table is passed, and so we will contact, we'll have staff look at our upcoming calendar. We'll schedule, we'll see about working to schedule a workshop in regard to that, but it's tabled at this time. Okay, under other business, first of all is departmental briefings and reports. And those, as always, are presented for your review. Item B is also for your review. The White Lake Recreation Advisory Board Summary Report is attached as item 5B. On item 5C is the White Lake Quality and Quantity Advisory Board Summary Report, which is again presented as item 5C for your review. Item D is a meeting of the Lumber River Council of Governments to take place on February 27th, 26th, starting at 9 a.m. in Rayford. And if there is, all elected officials, managers, clerks are invited to attend. If you would like to attend that meeting, then let staff know by February 17th, and we will make appropriate arrangements for you to be able to attend that meeting. And Item E, as most of you are aware, and I'm just real proud of this, we received on the federal level a $2 million award for wastewater improvements. As I said at the first of the meeting when we were discussing things on Diane's report, you know, the primary thing we've identified at this time is doing all the work that we can to eliminate or reduce nutrients from being able to enter the lake, because, you know, again, in simple terms, that's what the algae feeds on. So with this $2 million award for wastewater improvements, y'all are probably aware we need to do a lot of rehab work in relation to the lift stations we have in the lake and at the lake, and this is going to be invaluable in doing that work. We still have to, and we are working on coming up with the engineers with an appropriate plan, which we have to have in order to expend the funds. But just to let you know, that's what we're working towards, so you're aware of what's going on with it. And I had sent out a letter previously, and I do want to thank all of the board for you know, being involved with doing what we can to help eliminate nutrients coming into the lake. I did in the letter, and want to give again special thanks to Dean and Jake for, lack of a better term, for their politicking that they did, and it takes some politicking here. You know, this was done on the federal level, and we received at Little Old White Lake the second highest award in the state of North Carolina for this year for federal funds of this type. And we're very fortunate to do that. Our lobbyist, the Electus firm and Sam Shoemate, working for them, were instrumental in helping to get this done. And I really want to give special thanks to Representative Rouser, who actually made the appropriation request in the House of Representatives, and then through the work of Electus and the previous work they had done with Senators Tillis and Budd, we were able to get them online with this, and they helped usher that through the House. So with all of their work and consideration for the town of White Lake, we were able to get a $2 million award for wastewater improvements, and we're very proud of that. I'm very thankful to staff, and we're going to use that to help with the additional rehabilitation of our wastewater system. And again, in particular, I think we're looking at our lift stations, which, if y'all will remember, you recently voted to give some money for the rehab of 3 of the lift stations which were in critical need. And we are going forward with that, but we have lots of others. And, you know, it's an expensive thing to do at this point. As the fellow said one time, $2 million ain't what it used to be, but it's a lot of money. And I'm hoping it will do us, well, everybody, Dean, that is, but I mean, but you know, it's a lot of money, but we are hoping in all seriousness to do good things at the lake with it. And I do hope and pray that everything that we can do in regard to reducing nutrients in the lake will help us with our lake quality issues.
And Mayor, I'll just add, I'm excited for the staff too, because for the dozen or so lift stations that we do have around the lake, we still have outdated mechanisms like vacuum-based pumps that we're going to be able to replace now with new modern submersible pumps. So it's going to save the guys a lot labor hours on, just if one of those goes down. There's some of them that you can't even buy the parts for, to the mayor's point, that we had to, had those three critical ones that we had to put some money into. So long-term, just catching those things up to more modern times is going to help tremendously across the board.
And I just want to say, Sean, him following up, communicating, staying in front of the senators, contacting Brent Jackson, contacting the people constantly, phone calls. There's a lot of the reason we got, going to Raleigh, showing up. Politics play a part of it, obviously.
They do.
And it's important. But you got to have the guy that's following up, and he's the guy that's been following up. I know he's working on a lot of additional grants as well, but we're not going to him take the credit for those since he's decided he's going to be part of it. But I'm not happy he got the part.
No, I couldn't agree more. I'd love to take credit for this myself, but Sean has rode the main oar on here, and Sean, we do appreciate all the work you put into it.
I asked him to get me a list of all the grants that we've received under his control. And he's yet to provide me with that because he knows that we have more than paid. He has more than paid himself 3 or 4 times to the town of White Lake. So.
Well, and he keeps hoping another thing or two may come in. Who knows?
Yeah. I think
so.
At least one.
So we are very fortunate to have received that, and as y'all know, we're working on with Sean's guidance. We've been working on trying to look at low interest loans for different for additional monies for our wastewater system, and it does. We basically rehabbed our system many years ago for about $1.5 million, and it's only half in jest when I say that's not what it used to be. That many years ago, you put down a deep water well, you're talking about $250,000. Now you're talking about $1 million just to sink another well, and we're going to have to be putting down another well at some point. So it is a very expensive proposition, and when you get funds like this that are a grant and there's no match, there's no requirement for funds from the town of White Lake, then it really is a very important thing to us, and we're gonna use it wisely and do the best that we can for helping the folks who live here and helping the quality of our lake. So we'll keep going forward with that. Item F is the White Lake Postal Service closure for Washington's birthday, and that will close Monday, February 16th, reopen the 17th. The municipal complex will be operating on a normal schedule on February 16th. Sorry, George. Item G is a sadder note on our agenda. As y'all know, Sean was underhandedly recruited by the town of Whiteville to come back over to them. I'm just kidding. They recognized talent when they saw it. Sean's a resident of Whiteville, and I do, from a personal and professional viewpoint, I hate to see Sean go because I think he's done really, really good things for our town. And Sean has submitted his resignation on January the 28th. It's effective March the 4th. And Sean, I'll be glad to turn that over to you for any remarks that you have.
Sure, Mayor. I'd like to take the opportunity to read my letter into the record and take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you to the board. Thank you to the citizens. Thank you to the staff that I've had the pleasure of serving with. So Mayor and members of the town board, please accept this letter as my formal resignation from the position of town administrator for the town of White Lake, effective on March 4th, 2026. This decision is bittersweet, as serving this community has been one of the most rewarding experiences of my professional career. During my tenure, I've been honored to work alongside dedicated staff and council members to grow this organization, enhance services for our residents, secure grant funding to support key initiatives, and strengthen relationships with decision makers at the state level. Together, we have made meaningful improvements that will benefit the town for years to come, and I am very proud of what we have accomplished as a team. While it's very difficult for me to step away, I leave confident that this town is in a strong position to continue building on these successes. The progress we have achieved reflects the commitment and the vision of both our staff and our town board, and I am grateful to have played a role in that journey. On a personal note, I look forward to visiting White Lake with my family in the future and continuing to enjoy the beauty and hospitality that make this community so special. I deeply appreciate the way the council and the residents of this town have embraced my family as their own during my time in this office. Thank you for the trust and support you've shown in me throughout my service, and I want you all to know it has been truly an honor to lead and serve this wonderful community. Thank you, Mayor.
Sean, we thank you very much. And the thing that's going unsaid here, so since I run the meeting, I'm gonna say it. Sean, and I fully believe this because I have watched Sean grow professionally throughout the last several years, and he was green behind ears when he started out, but he has certainly grown professionally. He has done a professional, dedicated job for the town. And I will tell you, because Sean has relayed to me, as all of you know, and I'm not trying to get too far afield here, we have a transition that is taking place. Everyone knows that. Our finance officer who was here, Ms. Lennon, has gone elsewhere. She had a job opportunity that she felt like she couldn't turn down. It was no sour grapes with the town of White Lake, and we are going to need to fill that position. And obviously we are going to need to fill Sean's position. And so we have some hurdles going forward. I will tell you that I've already been working with Sean. He has, of course, a degree in administration with the Appalachian State. He has good contacts there. And Sean has been and is continuing to work with me. He and I meet on a daily basis, and we're working on a transition plan to present to you. And Sean is helping us to actively pursue finding someone who may be able to serve as an interim while we go through this process, because it's not necessarily fast. We don't want to do it too much in haste. We want to do it in a measured, professional way, and that's exactly what I intend to do. So Sean, I thank you for your willingness to continue to work with us in that regard, and I fully believe you when you tell me you will continue to do that, because you have been entirely truthful in the past with everything that you've presented to me, and I respect your work and I respect your work. So he's going to be helping us, and when he leaves and goes to White, he will help with, if necessary, contacting folks. I think he's told his folks in Whiteville that. That doesn't mean he's going to be coming over here doing this job, but he will continue to help with our best interest, and that speaks well for him. And I think in part of our transition plan, who knows, we may even get a plaque done for him or something. Probably think about it. But Sean, it has been a pleasure working with you, and I hope that we do need to come up with something to honor you for the work that you have done here, and we'll look at doing that. I'm sad to see you go, but I'm excited for your future opportunities. Okay, folks, will conclude our agenda for tonight, other than for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the board, you have 3 minutes to speak. Understand, this is not a question and answer period. You have 3 minutes to speak. If you wish to do so, you can come to the podium, give your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to address the board.
I'm Dennis Reasoner. I live at 45 Edgewater Street in Timberlake. We have a street light at the corner of Birch and Edgewater that is designed to illuminate the intersection. I submit that Duke Energy doesn't understand that because my picture here, my house is greatly illuminated right into the bedroom windows. They fixed it once before. They put a smaller watt bulb in it, shine right down on the intersection, did its job. The light was changed out at some point, and until a pole was changed out, they went back to original bulb, I assume, because now we're back to this. And I've dealt with White Lake because they're the folks paying the bill. Duke says we can't do anything unless White Lake. They've sent the same guy out 3, 4, 5 times. We're friends now, and he's made all the adjustments he can. And he tells me that they need a smaller bulb. It'll cost $50. I said, I'm good for $50. They can't find the bulb. I don't know what the problem is. I just would like to see the light shine on the intersection, reduce the wattage, and let's just, make it easy. This has gone on for 4 years now. So I think we should be able to get a resolution.
Have you talked with staff any?
Oh, yeah. Sean and I are good friends.
Yeah.
Jake and I are good friends.
You know,
Yeah, it has been a long process, and I helped Mr. Reasoner for quite some time. I believe what he's saying, we got it fixed, and then they came in and redid the poles or something, and then, but it has been a long process for him, and I feel for him. I've tried to help as much as I could on just a citizen capacity, and Sean's tried, but I will continue to advocate for you and help you as much as I can.
And Mr. Reasoner, after our conversation earlier this week, I did reach out. So hopefully I'll have some good news for you in the future.
I hope. I mean, that's what it looks like tonight. So hopefully we'll get some.
I'm gonna take that $50 and buy you a real heavy shade.
BB gun.
Get a BB gun. One or the other.
I've been offered a BB gun, but who would they look at as?
Yeah, well, as a criminal defense attorney, I'm afraid you're right on that. You would be the usual suspect, so probably don't want to do that. But I'm glad Sean's followed up on it. We'll continue to look at that. I know we're making a little light of it, but I understand that can be a very irritating thing. We'll be glad to do what we can.
I appreciate your help.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming and addressing us tonight. Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan Langston. Wanted to say to Sean, I know we got another month before, but again, I just wanted to say that you've been very professional with my dealings as a business operator here at White Lake. And even put it on my chamber hat, working with the chamber has been great. You are always tried to educate yourself on a lot of variety of different issues and speak eloquently when you communicate with the public in general. So the only advice I can give you is when you go back to Whiteville, check your spell checker and make sure that you don't accidentally spell Ville, L-A-K-E, White Lake instead of Whiteville. So
sure.
Thank you. Anyway, as everybody knows, this weekend is Valentine's Day weekend, and we also have a trail festival weekend here at White Lake that the Chamber of Commerce is doing. And Saturday, there's lots of stuff going on. There's a One Day Wonder exhibit where the North Carolina's founding documents, which are reproductions, mind you, but it's the 1776 State Constitution, Declaration of Rights, the state constitution, John Adams' thoughts on government, things like that. That's going to be presented at the Jones Lake State Park from 10 to 3 on Saturday on Valentine's Day. On that same date, there is also a announcing the start of the America's 250th for our area, Bladen County. There's a new app that's going to be the historical driving tour of Bladen County. So that's something to look forward to on Saturday at 2. There's also a fundraiser for the Mountains to Sea Trail, which, as y'all know, Mountain Sea Trail comes right by White Lake, comes through Jones Lake State Park and the forest. There's the fundraiser is basically going to be at Camp Clearwater, that they have, are doing also an outdoor expo. But basically Brunswick stew, chicken and pastry. There's, just to kind of support our community. Sunday tours and walks, or actually Saturday, we've also got a scavenger hunt here at White Lake. Working with in your packet with the, I forget what the name of the committee is, but, Friends of White Lake, and also one of the committees here. So there's lots of stuff going on this weekend. We hope that y'all come out and enjoy it with us. It's elizabethtownwhitelake.com, and then you can navigate to what's happening in Trail Festival weekend.
Well, what time is the event at Camp Clearwater?
Camp Clearwater events. So, let's see. The outdoor expo starts at 1, and it's basically 1 until dark. Yep. Okay. And it's okay. Yeah. So when the Brunswick stew runs out, the chicken and pastry runs out. That's kind of it. But it's basically 1 until dark. We've got a little flyer here that I can leave with y'all. I'm sure it's been shared on Facebook a tons of times too. But there's different hikes at different times. So going to the Chamber's website and kind of clicking on those things, you can get the event schedule of things that are happening. We're just trying to work together to.
Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't have it on the agenda tonight. I only saw something in the last couple of days on this and mentioned that. Maybe I got something before and just didn't look at it, but I very recently received something. We will try to get out through our resources here as much publicity as we can. I think the trail is a very important asset for the lake, and I hope we do get a good turnout on it, and we'll try to generate as much publicity as we can.
Yeah, it's like anything. You got to start somewhere and continue on the process and improve it every year. And we look forward to doing it again next year.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us tonight.
And Mayor, on that note, I just want to let the board know that Terry Dennison did send some information on the virtual driving tour. I've asked Tina to forward that to the board, so be on the lookout for that.
So you also have all the information on the Trail Festival weekend, because I sent you that and asked you to put it on the website.
Yes, ma'am. I believe that's been posted on social media and the website, if I'm not mistaken.
Folks, there are no other items of business at this time, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor,
Second.
just one thing real quick. Again, I want to thank Sean for what all he's done. I don't know if how long this has been out, but the town did release a new Facebook page. There's been very good information posted on that page. So thanks to Sean and his staff. The other thing I'd like to say again to Sean and his staff, as well as the police, the fire department, and the public works guys, this winter weather we just had was pretty rough and tough. And I think they did a really good job with preparing the town and the citizens and their departments and each's respect to, a lot of work goes into that we don't see, and I saw these guys for days in advance getting ready for all that winter weather. So, thanks to you guys for what y'all do, and Sean and your staff, updating us with the plans and the weather information and all that. And I just want to thank you for all that as well.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else?
I just want to say thanks for my birthday card, Goldston, and our staff. And Kevin, sorry about your father's passing. I know it was somewhat quick for us, and I just wanted to acknowledge you.
Kevin, we do extend our sympathies to you on that. I know this has been a difficult time for you, and we're here as part of your town family. Okay, anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? We're adjourned.